Hey guys, it's Dr. Anderson, Life Receptors Chiropractic in Missouri City, and this is another video in our sleep series. So one thing that people maybe overutilize a lot, they don't realize how much it might affect their sleep, is caffeine throughout the day. Now, I drink coffee. I try to keep it to a cup a day early in the morning, but there's two issues with caffeine that people don't realize. Well, really three. One is there's sources you might not even realize. So certain supplements might have caffeine or stimulants, or tea extracts or green tea extracts. Certain weight loss either supplements or medications might have caffeine and stimulants in them. Different chocolates actually has caffeine in it as well. So there's other food sources as well, and supplemental forms outside of coffee or even tea that you might not think of. Another thing that's people don't realize is that when you drink coffee and you get that stimulus effect, it kind of peaks the first 30 to 60 minutes and it starts to decrease, and then as you come down off the coffee, you might think that the caffeine, the stimulus effect of caffeine, is not affecting you anymore. And that might be true, but there's a whole nother way that caffeine in coffee blocks your sleep cycle. So there's something called sleep pressure. If you've ever been driving drowsy and you're fighting to stay awake and you're turning up the radio and you're rolling the window down and you're starting to get anxious that you're worried you might fall asleep because it's so uncontrollable, or you're watching a movie and you're really trying to stay awake but you keep falling asleep watching the movie, that's called sleep pressure. So it's at a certain point that your body, when it becomes exhausted and it's time to sleep, will raise a chemical messenger called adenosine, and when that adenosine goes up in the brain, it creates a sleep pressure response that's really, really hard to resist. If you've ever almost fallen asleep at the wheel or can't stay awake watching a movie, that's the pressure you felt. You can't resist it after a while. It's gonna take over. Well, caffeine, even though the stimulus effect might wear off and you don't feel the energy effect from caffeine anymore, you can still be blocking those receptors that adenosine needs to work in to create that sleep pressure. So it blocks the ability of it to do its actual job to create the sleep pressure effect, even though you're not kind of wired up on the caffeine any longer. And a lot of people overlook that or are not aware of that because they assume as long as I'm not all wired up on it, I should be able to go to sleep, and they don't know why. In fact, the half-life of that getting out of your system, which means how long does it take for 50% of a substance to get worked out of your system, that can be 5 to 7 hours. So if you're gonna have coffee in the afternoon, I recommend keeping it before 1 o'clock, even before 12 if you can. That's a great tip for the coffee drinkers. Keep it to 1, maybe 2 cups max during the day, and keep it earlier on in the day. Be aware of certain teas that might have caffeine in it. Even decaf still has caffeine. Decaf doesn't mean caffeine-free. There's still a pretty significant amount of caffeine, even in decaf coffees or teas. So just make sure they're actual caffeine-free versions, not just decaf. So hopefully that'll help clear up some of the issue with caffeine and help you do a little more responsibly so it doesn't affect your sleep.